would you like to see solved in your lifetime? My dad bought me a pocket watch when I was 10. It was gold and had the Tasmanian devil on it. I left it in the dining room. It disappeared. I looked for 10 years for that thing. Where is it? My uncle bought me a beautiful watch for my 16th birthday. I wore it every day for over a year, and on the first day at my new job at a theater I took it off and put it on a ledge in the theater basement while we moved a flat up to the stage. Came back 15 minutes later, and it was gone. I was with the only other people on the property, all of us moving the flat. I worked there for 3 years, and it never turned up, and I still haven't figured out WTF happened. It's old news, but I genuinely want to know who the Zodiac Killer was. It's probably impossible at this point, but I would love to know. My personal theory is that there was the original and a copycat. The person sending the cryptograms could be neither one of them, or somebody else entirely. I think the most likely suspects are Arthur Leigh Allen, Louis Joseph Myers, Richard Marshall, and Richard Gaykowski. I've always liked Ross Sullivan for the Zodiac. His moves match the Zodiac's pretty well. He is very suspicious for the Riverside murder. He died in 1977, which explains why he stopped. The cipher that is supposed to be the Zodiac's name is also the correct amount of characters as Sullivan's full name. I was a little kid when John B. Ramsey was murdered, and I've always wanted them to really figure out who the killer was. They are never going to figure this one out. Patsy passed away. John and Burke are never talking if they know anything. The crime scene is too convoluted to make a definitive case. There are no more leads to follow up on. I want them to dig on Mars. They only analyze rocks from the surface, but I'm pretty sure that, if you dig really deep, there are some dead Martian animals from 4 billion years ago when Mars had oceans and stuff. The disappearance of Madeline McCann. I also thought of Madeline. I remember watching the Netflix documentary, and one of the experts who had worked on several child disappearance cases said he was sure he would live to see the day when the world would know what happened to her. The man must have been on his 50s or even early 60s, and he seemed dead serious. I think about that a lot, and wonder if he will be proven right and there will finally be an answer. They identified a new suspect last year. I believe it was a German man who had been in the location she went missing. I'm not sure if anything happening with that. I think he was being charged for something else at the time too. It happened towards the start of the pandemic, so not much media coverage. A 16-year-old girl was found rolled up in a rug, deceased, down by the river in my county. Cops said the truth, that they were using her freaking kid as a confidential informant. Witnesses fishing down by the river that night saw 2 police cars stop at the location the body was found. The sheriff that was using her investigated her death, tried to lay blame on her father, but the answer is still unknown. That sheriff said it was a closed case even though the father was never tried, etc. Dirtiest cop I have ever seen, and he got away with a lot of crap. Would love to see the case investigated by an outside source and solved. In France, in 2011, a whole family disappeared. The mother and the 4 children were found dead by gunshot, wound under a concrete slab in the garden of the family house. The father, Xavier Dupont de Ligons, is responsible for the murder of his whole family. We are 999% sure of it. The mystery is not the motive, but what happened to him. It's been 10 years and apart some proofs he fled away in the first few days. A picture of him at the moment from a surveillance picture, for example. No trace of him was ever found since. For a more international mystery, I would say the 1993 Kamadaban incident, where a group of hikers died spontaneously in a gruesome way for no apparent reason. Only one girl lived to tell the tale. Look it up. It's terrifying. To keep with the French theme, I'd like to see the murder of Grams Gory Edelman resolved, known in France as l'affaire Grams Gory, a 4-year boy killed in 1984 after his father received threatening letters 4 months beforehand. It seems the guilty party is among the extended family, and that jealousy was the main motive. But the cops and the judge tucked up the case so much at the time, it remains unresolved to this day. Where are the aliens at, and how do we visit them? Plot twist. We are the first intelligent species in the galaxy that dares to voyage between the stars, colonizing other worlds. And by colonizing other worlds we prevent intelligent life from emerging on Earth. But seriously, I've spent way too much time thinking about this. And more I do, more I think that intelligent life is rare. Either that or universe is full of life we don't see, which means it never develops to huge civilizations spanning multiple solar systems, and that to me is ducking scary. More scary than us being the only civilization in the galaxy. Astronomers have discovered more than 3,200 stars with planets orbiting them so far. If you doubt the commonality or even the possibility of intelligent life with those numbers, then you're crazy. No. It just means you understand how incredibly unlikely aliens that could even conceive of other life are. We actually could be the first intelligent life. Probability works both ways. Somebody had to be first. Why not us? And then there is the flawed argument: in an infinite universe, anything is possible. So that means intelligent aliens are possible. You know what else that works for? False vacuum state: the idea that our universe is unstable and that at any moment the laws of physics could change and wipe us out. So, if anything is possible, the universe is already toast. It just hasn't reached us yet. The same goes for strange matter. It could have already set off a transformation cascade. I always think it's worth noting that with the universe being so huge and time is so long, the probability of any other life being nearby and at the same time as us is so small. I can't recall the name, but there's a theory about how all intelligent life eventually destroys itself. If that's true, then it might be the case that a new civilization pops up every million years or something like that, but dies out before it has a chance for the next civilization to start exploring space. But additionally, if life was alive somewhere else right now, they're probably so far away from us that we will never learn of each other's existence before we both die out, let alone actually meet. Okay, real talk. Is there a giant ocean monster lurking somewhere, or have I spent all these hours watching its videos for nothing? Are there unknown species lurking deep in the ocean? Absolutely. Is it likely any of these species are gigantic? No. Most likely not. See, the thing with huge creatures is that they cannot exist without leaving some sort of footprint on their ecosystem. Other animals. Take giant squids, colossal squids for example. It wasn't until recently that we were able to observe them in their natural environment. But we have known about their existence for much longer, because we have found pieces of them in the stomachs of other animals. Occasional bodies washed up on the beach and even scars left on whales. This is also the same reason why we know megalodon is extinct. If it would exist, whales couldn't be this big. Megalodon preyed on whales, and therefore served as a size limitation. And we've always been able to find some piece of it washed up ashore. But when the only teeth we keep finding are fossilized, it's a pretty good indication that no, they are not around anymore. What's the truth about Skinwalker? Would love to know too. There's honestly some weird stuff all over eastern Utah, like ancient petroglyphs that look like aliens, astronauts, winged angels, weird animals and more. There's also just areas where it feels almost prehistoric somehow. The man who owns it is a billionaire and manages commercial real estate in Utah. You see his name on just about every commercial building that is leasing space. The statue in front of the CIA building called Cryptus, which has 4 codes to solve and one has never been solved before. 4 of the art piece has been solved. As an amateur enthusiast of cryptography, it actually isn't hard to solve. 2 of the 3 already solved used a common simple cipher known as the Iuvenesco cipher, but needed a keyword to decrypt. Lots of people think it's some grand super special secret encryption technique that only the smartest people can solve. But really anyone can solve it with a pen and paper, so long as you know the keyword. The thing is, anyone can create an encoded message using the most basic of ciphers that's almost impossible to solve because many of them need a keyword. Without a keyword, you need to brute force your way to solving it, which takes a long time. A full mapping of gut bacteria and its relation to health, and guidelines on how to best tend to it. From what I've gathered, we have only scratched the surface of the subject. Also, from what I understand, the appendix is an emergency storehouse for digestive bacteria, and so it could be vastly more important than what it is treated as. I do think it's cool that there are things about our body that we know are vital to our very existence, yet we have no idea how or why. John B. at Ramsey, I firmly believe that there was some accident with her brother and they covered it up to protect him, but I'd love it to be confirmed. Kelly Lane Tegan Lane, I'm of the she did something to Tegan camp, but I want to know what happened and why she's just kept lying this whole time, though she seems either incredibly callous or just totally delusional. Beaumont children, there's theories that it was Bevan Spencer von Enum. He'd have been around the right age and general looks, but he totally denied it, and his conviction was for the assault murder of a young boy, whereas witnesses that saw the man with the Beaumonts was overly interested in the elder daughter, and most predators that are into that age range tend to have strong preferences for one gender or the other. Burning fat, like if we could all eat whatever and take a pill that melts fat. Happy days. Technically we do have the perfect diet pill, meaning that it makes you use way more energy than normal and you would lose weight very fast. It's called DMT. The reason we don't use it is because it causes side effects like fatigue and hypothermia, and its effective dose is very close to its lethal dose. So it's banned by the FDA and never really caught on because of how dangerous it is. The case of the Oakland County child killer. In 1976 and 1977 in Detroit's wealthiest and safest suburbs, kids were snatched off the streets in broad daylight, only to be found days later dead, after being alive that whole time. In Washington supposedly never solved, but there's accusations of police cover-ups and all kinds of things. NH370. According to interviews with the pilot's family and friends, he appeared to have been depressed. Looks like as he was passing the boundary between two airfields, he locked his co-pilot out of the cabin, turned off all transmitters and radar, and changed route. He wore a specialized oxygen mask whilst taking the plane to a higher altitude, which caused the cabin to depressurize, which would cause all passengers and crew aside from himself to die painlessly. Then returned to regular altitude, cruised until the fuel was about to run out, and manually crashed the plane into the ocean, presumably to ensure he died on impact. Also, the Malaysian government hid a lot of information early on, which meant other countries wasted time and money searching the wrong location. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.